साल की जब घटना हुई थी तब थी वो, कितने समय खुशियों का आया होगा, लेकिन हमें उनकी खुशियाँ बहुत कम याद आती है। हमें हमेशा दिमाग में जो उनको तकलीफ मिली वो याद रहता।
Imagine a world where stepping out of your home after dark could be a death sentence. A world where your gender alone makes you a target. On December 16, 2012, this nightmare became a horrifying reality for a young woman in Delhi, India. Her name was Jyoti Singh, but the world would come to know her as Nirbhaya, the fearless one. This is her story, and the story of a nation forever changed. Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most shocking and transformative events in recent Indian history. But before we begin, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt unsafe walking alone at night? Hold on to that feeling, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this case touched the hearts of millions and sparked a revolution. Our story begins on a chilly December evening in Delhi. The air was crisp, and the city was alive with the usual hustle and bustle of a Sunday night. Jyoti Singh, a 23-year-old physiotherapy intern, had just finished watching Life of Pi with her friend Awindra Pratap Pandey at the PVR Select City Walk Mall in Socket. It was about 8:30 p.m., and the pair decided to head home. Little did they know that their decision to board a private bus would lead to a night of unimaginable horror. But before we delve into the events of that fateful night, let's take a moment to understand who Jyoti Singh was. Born on May 10, 1990, in Delhi, Jyoti was the eldest of 3 children in a lower-middle-class family. Her parents, Badrinath Singh and Asha Devi, hailed from a small village in the Balia district of Uttar Pradesh. They had moved to Delhi in search of a better life, carrying with them the dreams and aspirations of countless rural Indians. Jyoti's father, Badrinath Singh, worked double shifts to support his family and send his children to good schools. He had once dreamed of becoming a schoolteacher, but poverty had forced him to abandon his education after high school. Determined not to let his children suffer the same fate, he poured all his energy into providing them with opportunities he never had. Jyoti was a bright, ambitious young woman with dreams of becoming a doctor. She worked nights at a call center to pay for her studies, juggling her job with her internship and her family responsibilities. Her determination was inspirational. Here was a young woman who refused to let her circumstances define her future. She was the embodiment of the new India, a country where even those from humble beginnings could aspire to greatness. As Jyoti and Awindra waited at the Munirka bus stop around 9:30 p.m., a white charter bus pulled up. 6 men were already on board, including the driver. One of them, a teenager named Muhammad Afroz, called out to the pair, saying the bus was headed their way. Thinking nothing of it, they boarded, paying 10 rupees each for the ride. At first, everything seemed normal, but as the bus began to move, Awindra noticed something was wrong. The bus deviated from its normal route, and the doors were shut. When he objected, the group of men taunted the couple, asking what they were doing out so late. An argument broke out, and suddenly, Awindra was beaten unconscious with an iron rod. What happened next was a nightmare beyond imagination. The men dragged Jyoti to the back of the moving bus. They beat her mercilessly with the iron rod and took turns raping her. The assault was so brutal that doctors would later say her internal injuries were as if someone had pulled out her intestines with their bare hands. But Jyoti was a fighter. Despite her injuries, she bit 3 of her attackers, leaving marks that would later help identify them. Her incredible bravery in the face of such brutality is why she would come to be known as Nirbhaya, the fearless one. The ordeal lasted for nearly an hour as the bus drove through the streets of Delhi. Can you imagine the terror Jyoti must have felt? The pain, the humiliation, the desperate struggle to survive? It's almost too horrific to contemplate, but we must. We must face this ugly truth if we're ever to change it. After the assault, the attackers threw both Jyoti and Awindra from the moving bus, leaving them for dead on the side of the road. It wasn't until 11 p.m. that a passerby found them and called the police. The couple was rushed to Safdarjung Hospital, where doctors were shocked by the extent of Jyoti's injuries. The news of the attack spread like wildfire. As Jyoti fought for her life in the hospital, India erupted in anger and grief. Thousands took to the streets of Delhi, demanding justice and better protection for women. The protests quickly spread to other cities across the country. But who were these monsters capable of such a heinous crime? The police worked tirelessly to find the culprits. Within 24 hours, they had arrested the first suspect, Ram Singh, the 30-year-old bus driver. His 26-year-old brother Mukesh Singh was next, both arrested in Rajasthan. Then came 20-year-old Vinay Sharma, an assistant gym instructor, and 19-year-old Pawan Gupta, a fruit seller, both arrested in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The final adult suspect, 28-year-old Akshay Thakur, was arrested in Aurangabad, Bihar. The juvenile, 17-year-old Muhammad Afroz, was picked up at the Anand Vihar terminal in Delhi. As the nation waited for justice, Jyoti's condition worsened. She underwent multiple surgeries, including one that removed most of her intestines. Despite the best efforts of the doctors, her condition remained critical. On December 26th, the government made the controversial decision to fly her to Mount Elizabeth Hospital in Singapore for specialized treatment. The decision to move Jyoti sparked debate. Some saw it as a desperate attempt to save her life, while others criticized it as a political move to quell the growing protests. Regardless of the motivation, it was too late. On December 29, 2012, Jyoti Singh succumbed to her injuries. The death of Nirbhaya was a turning point for India. The outpouring of grief and anger was unlike anything the country had seen before. People from all walks of life, men and women alike, joined in protests demanding change. The case had exposed the ugly underbelly of Indian society, the rampant sexual violence, the apathy of the system, and the victim-blaming culture that had allowed such crimes to go unchecked for so long. The protests were not without incident. On December 22nd, a police constable named Subhash Tomar collapsed during a protest at India Gate and later died in hospital. Initially, it was claimed that he had been beaten by protesters, but eyewitness accounts and medical reports later contradicted this. The incident added to the tension between the protesters and the authorities. The government was forced to act. On December 22, 2012, a judicial committee headed by J.S. Varma, a former Chief Justice of India, was appointed to suggest amendments to criminal law. The committee received over 80,000 suggestions in just 29 days, showing how deeply the case had affected the nation. Based on the committee's recommendations, new laws were passed. But what about Jyoti's attackers? The trial began in a fast-track court, with the nation watching closely. The prosecution presented evidence including witness statements, DNA testing, and dental modeling. On September 10, 2013, all four adult defendants, Mukesh Singh, Vinay Sharma, Akshay Thakur, and Pawan Gupta, were found guilty of rape and murder. 3 days later, they were sentenced to death. The verdict was met with mixed reactions. Many celebrated it as justice served, while others questioned the effectiveness of the death penalty as a deterrent. The debate highlighted the complex issues surrounding crime and punishment in India. The juvenile defendant, Muhammad Afroz, was tried separately in a juvenile court. He was given the maximum sentence under juvenile law, 3 years in a reform facility. This decision sparked outrage and led to changes in the law, allowing juveniles between 16 and 18 to be tried as adults for heinous crimes. The road to justice was long and fraught with challenges. Ram Singh, the bus driver, was found dead in his jail cell on March 11, 2013, in what was officially ruled a suicide. However, his family and lawyers alleged foul play, adding another layer of controversy to the case. The other convicts filed multiple appeals, delaying their execution for years. They used every legal option available to them, including mercy petitions to the President of India. This prolonged legal process was agonizing for Jyoti's family and frustrating for a public eager to see justice served. During this time, disturbing details emerged about the mindset of the rapists. In a BBC documentary titled India's Daughter, Mukesh Singh blamed Jyoti for the attack, saying, "A decent girl won't roam around at 9 o'clock at night." His lack of remorse shocked the nation and reinforced the need for fundamental changes in societal attitudes. Finally, on March 20, 2020, more than 7 years after their horrific crime, Mukesh Singh, Vinay Sharma, Akshay Thakur, and Pawan Gupta were hanged at Tihar jail. It was the first time in India's history that 4 men were hanged together. The execution was seen by many as the closing of a dark chapter, but for others, it raised questions about the place of capital punishment in a modern society. But the story doesn't end there. Jyoti Singh's parents, Badrinath Singh and Asha Devi, became powerful voices in the fight against sexual violence. They established the Nirbhaya Trust to assist women who have experienced violence, ensuring that their daughter's legacy lives on. Their courage in the face of unimaginable loss has been an inspiration to many. The case also sparked a global conversation about violence against women. Remember that feeling of unease I asked you to hold on to at the beginning of this video? For millions of women in India and around the world, that feeling is a daily reality. The Nirbhaya case forced us to confront this harsh truth and ask ourselves, what kind of society do we want to live in? Jyoti Singh, Nirbhaya, didn't choose to be a symbol. She was a young woman with dreams and aspirations, just like any of us. She represented the hopes of a new India, a country where women could pursue their ambitions without fear. But her tragic fate became a rallying cry for change, a demand for a world where women can live without fear. If this video has moved you, please share it and keep the conversation going. Together, we can ensure that Nirbhaya's sacrifice wasn't in vain. Remember, in the face of darkness, we must all strive to be a little more Nirbhaya, fearless, in our pursuit of justice and equality. Until next time, stay safe and keep fighting the good fight. Let's make sure that Jyoti Singh's dream of a safer, more just world becomes a reality. Because in the end, her story is not just about the horrors she faced, but about the change she inspired. And that change begins with each one of us.